Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Our whole mission here is, cutting through the noise, getting you those key nuggets of info, really giving you that shortcut to being, well, properly informed. Today, we're plunging right into this world of clockwork nightmares, gothic tragedy.
Yeah.
It's the big one, the highly anticipated first major expansion for Lies of P.
Yeah.
We're talking, of course, about Overture. You know, Lies of P, it really made a splash back in 2023, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Carved out a serious spot for itself. I mean, easily one of the best non-From Software Souls-likes we've seen.
Agreed. Stands out.
And Overture's, well, it definitely made waves.
Hmm.
That whole shadow drop thing, releasing it with hardly any warning, basically.
Yeah, June 6th, right during Summer Game Fest. Classic Jeff Cayley move. Exactly. The buzz was instant. So what we want to do today really is dig into all of it, the reviews, what people are saying online, the gameplay takes. We want to pull out everything you absolutely need to know about what this prequel DLC is bringing. And maybe ask, does Overture manage to push Lies of P beyond just being a really good Souls-like clone? Or is it more about doubling down on what it already does well and maybe not so well?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And what's really fascinating here, right from the start, is how this DLC immediately builds on, well, both the world, which was already pretty rich, and the mechanics, which people really got into.
Yeah.
It gives you this fresh perspective, but maybe even more unsettling,
Uh-huh.
on place you thought you knew. And looking at the early buzz, I mean, Overture seems to be landing really well, mostly generally favorable across the board.
Okay.
Like on OpenCritic, it's got an aggregated score of 83%, though that's based on just 5 critic reviews so far. Fairly early days.
Still pretty solid, though.
Yeah, Metacritic for the PC version, that's showing an 84 Metascore from 17 critics. So again, generally favorable.
Right.
And the user score is interesting too, pulled from 211 ratings. Right now it's sitting at 7.6. Also generally favorable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just looking at the numbers, the first signs are definitely pointing towards Neo as really delivering what players were looking for. Seems like they nailed it for the most part.
Absolutely. And that positive vibe seems to really connect with the whole narrative direction they took with Overture, because this isn't your typical sequel, is it? It doesn't push the story forward. Instead, it's a trip back in time, which is a pretty interesting choice for DLC.
It really is.
You're back in the meticulously crafted body of P, Geppetto's puppet.
Yeah.
And you've got your buddy Gemini with you again, the cricket lamp guy. And the whole point of this expansion seems to be peeling back those layers, right? Showing us what actually happened leading up to that infamous puppet frenzy massacre.
Yeah, the big catastrophe.
And, the total collapse of Krat that followed, it's being described as this really dark, personal tale of personal tragedy and vengeance. It's like an even bleaker, more twisted take on, well, Pinocchio, Carlo Collodi's original story. Collodi actually wrote, "Most unfortunately, in the lives of puppets, there is always a but that spoils everything."
Oh, yeah.
But for Overture, it seems like that's not the case, fortunately. The reviews suggest this expansion builds on the lore in really compelling, satisfying ways. It really enriches that foundation the base game laid down, feels less like just an add-on, more like a crucial missing piece.
Exactly. And that's really where it shines, I think.
Mhm.
The DLC genuinely fleshes out what was already an awesome story, fills in those gaps, sometimes in ways you really don't expect. It gives you satisfying answers to questions a lot of us had after finishing the main game.
Right, like what?
Well, for instance, it really digs into the origins of characters you thought you knew. And it gives you a ton of backstory on key figures like Carlo, the real boy Geppetto lost, and Romeo, the king of puppets. You get so much context for why they did what they did before Krat fell apart. It just complements the base game perfectly. Gives you this much deeper read on the motivations, the relationships, the history that shaped that grim world.
That sounds great.
And what's really clever, I thought, is how some of the stuff you do in the prequel, in Overture, can actually have a visible impact back in the present of the base game.
Oh, really?
So imagine meeting a painter in Overture. Maybe you help them, maybe you just interact in a certain way. And because of that, something changes back in modern-day Krat. One reviewer specifically mentioned, like, a brand new painting showing up in Hotel Krat, your safe zone.
Yeah. That's subtle, yeah, but it's a powerful way to tie the past and present together. Makes the world feel more, I don't know, cohesive, alive, even with the time jump.
Right.
It definitely rewards you for paying attention, for exploring everywhere, which is, classic Souls-like design.
Totally. And speaking of paying attention, the visual storytelling, the environmental stuff, sounds like it's just incredible here. The game apparently dives deep into this really evocative imagery,
Yeah.
especially with the villains' exhibitions, these macabre scenes staged with
Yeah,
corpses.
pretty gruesome stuff.
Horrific, absolutely.
Hmm.
But described as having this weird, morbid beauty to them.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, people are comparing it to Brian Fuller's Hannibal series.
Wow, high praise.
Right. In Hannibal, those paintings of death, they were inspired by real artists making something gruesome look disturbingly aesthetic. Wouldn't surprise me if Neo did something similar, creating scenes that are just repulsive but also weirdly captivating.
And this imagery, plus all the other little environmental storytelling moments, notes, the way buildings are crumbling, remnants of life, it just does a fantastic job building tension, creating this, like, terrifying unease. And it all points back to the main villain. You feel their presence, their twisted artistry, even when they're not on screen. That's pretty powerful psychological horror, especially in a game already so dark.
Yeah, it sets a great mood.
Yeah.
But, and here's a but for you, that effective buildup doesn't quite hold all the way through, apparently. This is where some critiques say the narrative kind of falters a bit.
Okay, how so?
Well, one comment point is that maybe too much of the story is hidden away in optional notes.
The classic Souls problem.
Exactly. And look, the notes themselves are often really well written, very grim, very atmospheric. But relying so heavily on them, it can pull you out of the immediate experience if you're not someone who stops to read every single piece of paper.
Right.
You might feel like you're missing key plot points.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then there's Gemini, your little lamp companion. He gets called out by quite a few people as basically an exposition dispenser, like constantly chiming in to make sure you didn't miss any story detail.
Oh, really? Is it that bad?
Well, some found it helpful, I guess, but others found it pretty jarring, almost like an insult to your intelligence, Or maybe like Neo-Wiz wasn't confident enough in their own world building, their own subtle clues, which ties right back into that big debate in the Soulslike community, right? Should Lies of P stick closer to FromSoft's whole show-don't-tell thing, let players piece it together themselves from the environment, item descriptions? Or is having a guide like Gemini okay?
It's a tough balance.
And then there's the villain themselves, built up so well through all that atmosphere and dread. But when you actually meet them, some reviewers felt it was a bit disappointing.
Disappointing how?
I
Like
thought-
underwhelming.
Sort of. Described as maybe better suited for an over-the-top cartoon, almost feeling out of place with the serious tone established earlier. It's seen as a bit of a departure from how they were hinted at in the base game. It's maybe a small part of the overall DLC, but it's a noticeable tonal shift that apparently took some players out of it.
Okay, interesting. But let's shift to the visuals, because here's where it gets really interesting, apparently. The DLC takes quite a big step away from the base game's look. We all know Lies of P borrowed heavily from Bloodborne's gothic, Victorian vibe.
Yeah, very Harnum-esque.
Right. But Overture seems to mostly ditch Krat's dark, rainy streets. Instead, you get these really unique levels, new environments. You're out in the crumbling outskirts, apparently, in this chilling winter hellscape.
Winter, huh? That's different.
Totally different. And the contrast sounds amazing. You've got snow everywhere falling from the sky. It gives you this weird sense of nostalgia, maybe even childlike wonder, like a dark fairy tale thing.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
But then, boom, it's immediately slammed against the danger lurking everywhere. It's this brilliant balance, apparently. Feels beautiful, but also deeply unsettling. Keeps you totally on edge, moving through these new areas.
And what kind of dangers are we talking about? New enemies.
Oh, yeah. And they sound wild. After the snowy woods, the first big area is the violent chaos of Krat Zoo.
A zoo? Seriously?
Seriously. And it sounds horrific. Frenzied puppets, sure, but also mutilated animal carcasses, giraffes, other wildlife. And some animals are apparently kept alive by the petrification disease. Just awful, twisted stuff.
Wow. That's dark, even for this game. And the new enemy designs in these places, they sound like a real highlight. Sounds like Neo-Wiz really went for it, not just reskins.
Totally. Get this, an elephant with a crocodile's head bursting out of its dome?
You're kidding.
Nope. Sounds as bizarre and terrifying as you'd imagine. Or drop-kicking kangaroo.
Okay, now you're just making things up.
I wish I was. And vicious apes that move super fast. These things aren't just for show either. They apparently pack a serious punch, need totally new strategies. Beating them sounds incredibly satisfying because they force you to adapt.
Nice.
And beyond the zoo, it keeps going. There's apparently a big fairground area with a working Ferris wheel and carousel, but all twisted and macabre.
A fairground. Okay.
And then you're navigating broken ships stuck in thick ice with the green glow of the northern lights overhead. It really is this twisted wonderland. Beautiful, but messed up.
Man, Neos' level design team seems to be firing on all cylinders then. That continued strength really shines through.
Yeah, the design sounds intricate still. Yeah. Semi-open levels, multiple paths, hidden spots, all testing your skills, your strategy with different kinds of fights.
You're navigating across, canopy bridges over zoo enclosures, fighting through a fairground, traversing broken ships. It sounds visually amazing, but also like really smart spaces to explore.
Exactly. And they tell stories too, apparently. The environments themselves, the decay, tells these little tragic tales between the fights, adds another layer.
That's good environmental storytelling.
And the fairground, get this, it actually has themed mini games.
Mini games. In the Soulslike.
Yep. You find special coins, and you can use them to play stuff like whack-a-mole, but with puppets, obviously, or a classic shooting gallery.
Huh.
And you can win rewards. Items, currency, whatever. It's this weird, delightful, but still kind of creepy detour from the main challenge. Whimsical horror, maybe?
Whimsical horror, I like that. But okay, surely not every new area is a home run. Any missteps?
Well, yeah, it seems like there's one familiar issue. The only misstep, according to some reviews, is this underground prison and laboratory area run by the alchemists, Krat's shady ruling class.
Ah, the lab level. Always a risk of being generic.
Exactly what they said. Generic, bland.
Yeah.
Tiled walls, empty gurneys, big tanks with glowing liquid and floating bodies. You know the type.
Yep, seen it before.
It just lacks that distinct character, that visual flair that makes the rest of Lies of P's environment stand out. Feels like a bit of a dip after the zoo and the fairground.
Okay, fair enough.
And there's also a bit of recycled content, apparently, which can dampen that feeling of discovery.
Like reused enemies?
Yeah, partly. The carnival section, while cool, apparently has some bits that feel awfully familiar to areas and enemies from the base game. And you definitely run into some rehashed enemies, those standard psycho puppets, the undead dogs. They're still tough, sure, but they don't offer that same thrill as the genuinely new, weird enemies like the croc elephant. It's a minor thing, maybe, but noticeable in an otherwise really inventive expansion.
Gotcha. So environment's mostly great, one weaker spot, some reused stuff. What about our tools? Does Overture shake up the combat with new gear?
It doesn't totally overhaul the core mechanics, no, but it definitely adds some cool new weapons, and Legion arms gives you more variety, more tactical choices.
Okay, like what?
Well, there's a new bow, which is pretty significant, actually. Lets you keep your distance. Pepper enemies with arrows.
A proper ranged option.
Seems like it. It's got a charged shot, too, can interrupt enemy attacks, which sounds super useful. And get this, unlimited ammo.
Whoa, unlimited. Is it balanced?
Apparently, yeah. Takes a couple of charged shots to down even a regular enemy, so it's not like you can just cheese everything, but it fills that gap, right? Yeah. For people who wanted a dedicated ranged weapon.
Definitely. What else?
There's other unique stuff. One weapon is basically Wolverine claws. Quick, ripping attacks, very aggressive, close-up style.
Nice.
And then there's the gun blade, called the Pale Knight. Totally looks like Squall's weapon from FFV8.
No way. How does it work?
It attacks like a greatsword, mostly. But the heavy attack, it pulls a trigger on a double-barreled gun built into it, fires right in the enemy's face, and the recoil sends you flying backwards. So it's a fence, but it's also an evasive move, creates space.
That's clever design.
But wait, there's more. The coolest part. You can fire it again to launch yourself back towards the enemy for a big follow-up attack.
Okay, that sounds incredibly fun. Like a whole combat dance.
Totally. Dynamic. Offense tied with evasion. The only slight drag, some players said the best version of it doesn't unlock until the very, very end of the DLC.
Ah, shame. So mostly for NG Plus then?
Pretty much, yeah. Unless you're planning to jump right back in.
Still sounds cool though. What about the Legion arms, the prosthetic tools?
Yeah, a couple of new ones there too, adding more tactical options. Remember, Legion arms are P's special attachments using up that Legion resource.
Right.
So one new one is basically a shotgun. Does what you'd expect. Powerful burst damage up close. You can charge it up, save it for when you need a quick stagger, or to break an enemy's guard.
Simple, effective. Good.
The other one, it unleashes spinning blades, deals continuous damage to one enemy at a time. Great for keeping up pressure or chipping away at a boss's health.
Okay, interesting. Can you upgrade it?
Yeah, through the P organs, P's internal upgrades, you can increase the number of blades you fire at once. And even change it so retrieving a blade buffs the next one you throw out. Makes it really versatile, rewarding to use.
Nice. So versatile, good for different situations.
And compared to some of the base game arms, which maybe needed a lot of upgrades to feel really good, These new ones apparently feel more impactful right away, like a smoother power curve. You feel the benefit immediately when you equip them.
That's a definite improvement.
Good to hear. And beyond the gear, there are also some pretty big quality of life updates, part of a free patch that came out with Overture.
Oh, yeah. Like what? Always appreciate those.
These sound genuinely great. Things that just smooth out the experience. Like you can now use ergo items, the souls, the currency directly from the leveling menu.
Oh, thank God. No more menu hopping just to pop souls.
Exactly. Huge convenience. And there's an auto-target lock change now. When an enemy dies, it automatically switches targets. Just makes combat flow better, less fumbling with the lock-on.
Yes. Another needed fix.
And the big one, maybe. Tweaking P organs individually. Remember how you had to reset the entire tree if you wanted to change one thing?
Ugh, yes. So annoying for experimenting.
Well, now you can change them one by one. Massively better for trying out different builds without a huge ergo cost.
Okay, that's a game changer for build flexibility. Fantastic.
So yeah, while Overture maybe plays it a bit safe with brand new core mechanics, there's like a new upgrade tree, but it feels more like an extension of the old system. These QLL changes are really positive.
Right.
The core gameplay loop, the combat, the exploration, it's already super strong. These changes just make doing it all more fun, less frustrating, polishing the edges.
Makes sense. Focus on refinement rather than revolution for the mechanics. But refinement is good. Which leads us to the difficulty. This has been a huge talking point, right?
Yeah.
How tough is this DLC?
Yeah, the million ergo question. And the consensus seems pretty clear. Overture is tough. Really tough.
Tougher than the base game's end.
Definitely. People are saying it feels like proper post-game content, difficulty-wise. Enemies hit incredibly hard. We're talking two-shot potential from lots of things.
Oof. 2 hits and you're dead.
Pretty much. Almost anything you run into can apparently send you right back to the nearest stargazer, your bonfire, basically.
Even early on.
Yep. Even the opening area, those infected dogs and baboons we mentioned. Some reviewers said they struggled more there than with huge chunks of the base game.
Wow.
And the community chatter backs this up hard. People on NG Plus cycles, even high-level ones, reporting getting flattened by regular mobs in 2 hits, calling it brutal, overtuned.
Any comparisons?
Oh yeah, comparisons to Bloodborne's Old Hunters DLC but juiced up on steroids, or saying it has Dark Souls 2 DNA, which, implies some punishing, maybe slightly unfair difficulty spikes.
Right, DS2 has that reputation.
And this high difficulty can apparently tip over into frustration sometimes, not just because it's hard, but because of maybe things outside your control, weird camera angles, getting stuck on scenery, leading to almost instant death.
Yeah, that's the bad kind of difficulty.
Yeah.
When it feels unfair.
Exactly. It's a fine line, satisfying challenge versus just frustrating. And Overture seems to lean heavily into challenge, maybe sometimes crossing that line for some players.
So in response to that, or maybe just general feedback, they added difficulty modes in the free update, right?
Yes. And this is probably the most significant part of that free update for many players. Options for the entire game, not just the DLC.
Okay, what are the options?
So Legendary Stalker is the new name for the default hardest difficulty. Basically how the game was before the patch.
Gotcha. The original experience.
Then there's Awakened Puppet, which is described as easier, and Butterfly's Guidance, which is labeled as very easy, a story-focused experience.
Butterfly's Guidance sounds gentle.
Well, here's the catch. Some reviewers noted the descriptions might be a bit misleading. Even Butterfly's Guidance, while definitely easier than the standard mode, isn't exactly a walk in the park.
Ah, so very easy is relative here. Still a Soulslike, basically.
Pretty much. It's not the kind of completely breezy, zero challenge mode you might expect from that description in another genre. But still, it's undeniably a huge positive step, right?
Oh, yeah.
It opens the game up to way more people, lets them see the world, the story without hitting that impossible wall. That's always a good thing.
Agreed. Accessibility is good, but this didn't go over well with everyone in the hardcore Souls-like crowd, did it?
No, definitely not. You saw the usual arguments. Some users felt it betrayed the core audience.
The whole one difficulty is part of the experience argument.
Exactly. That the shared struggle, the fixed challenge, is integral. Almost sacred to the genre for some. It's that classic tension, isn't it? How do you keep that core identity of tough but fair challenge while also making your game welcoming to more people?
Yeah, it's a perennial debate. Did Neowis say anything about maybe tweaking Overture's difficulty specifically? Since it sounds overtuned.
Not explicitly about Overture yet, I don't think, but they have addressed difficulty complaints about the base game before, promising updates. The community seems to expect they might look at the damage output of certain enemies in the DLC in a future patch, trying to fine-tune it, maybe pull it back from brutal to just very challenging.
A delicate balance, for sure. Okay, let's shift gears to something everyone loves talking about in Souls-likes.
Mm-hmm.
The bosses. How are they in Overture?
Oh, they sound generally excellent. Reviewers calling them super weird, extremely original, mostly challenging, and just really exciting peaks after fighting through the levels.
Good variety.
Seems like it, yeah. A good mix. You get those absolutely massive, grotesque monsters with weapons so huge it feels insane. You can even parry them with your little sword. Really tests your deflection timing.
Classic Soul spectacle.
Totally. And then you also get the faster humanoid bosses, the ones that dodge around, trade blows with you, more of a duel, testing reflexes, pattern recognition, dodge timing. Keeps things fresh, makes you use your whole toolkit.
Sounds promising. Any standouts mentioned?
Definitely. One getting a lot of praise is Marchiona, Puppeteer of Death.
Ooh, cool name.
Right. She's a humanoid boss, but fights with this puppet tethered to her the whole time. A multi-opponent fight.
Ah, the dreaded multi-boss fight. Often messy in these games.
Yeah, but Marchiona is apparently a shining example of how to do it right. The key is this tether between them. When the puppet's about to attack, the tether flashes orange, gives you a visual cue, even if the puppet itself is off-screen, lets you react, dodge, or parry.
Oh, that's smart. Addresses the camera issue often plaguing these fights.
Exactly, and the pair doesn't just spam you relentlessly either. Marchiona focuses more on ranged attacks, while the puppet goes for melee, creates a manageable pattern.
So it's still tough, but fair.
That's the consensus. Still a hard fight, but like most of Lies of P's bosses, it doesn't feel cheap, even with 2 enemies.
Nice. Any others getting shoutouts?
Yeah, the Anguished Guardian of the Ruins was mentioned. A huge boss, apparently has some of the most satisfying parries in the game, really weighty attacks that feel great to deflect.
Love that feel.
And the final boss, described as just dripping with style and spectacle. Hilariously complex attacks. Provides a really satisfying conclusion. A proper final skill check makes you feel like you earned the win.
Sounds like they delivered on the boss front then.
Yeah.
But how's the difficulty perception? You said the DLC overall is hard. Are the bosses the main culprits, or is it varied?
It's nuanced, actually. Across the board, people called them banger and excellent. Potential best-in-genre stuff for some.
High praise.
But others definitely found them frustrating, called them BS. So, typical Souls-like boss experience depends on the player, the build, maybe just how you click with a fight.
Right. Subjective.
Interestingly, one reviewer actually said the bosses felt not as difficult as I remember some of the hardest fights in the base game being.
Oh, why?
They weren't sure if the bosses were just better balanced overall, more readable patterns, fewer cheap shots maybe, or if they'd simply gotten better at Souls-likes after playing the base game.
The classic get-good effect.
Could be. It suggests maybe a more predictable level of challenge in the bosses compared to the sometimes erratic difficulty spikes elsewhere, which again could be good or bad depending on what you want.
True. Predictable can mean fair, but maybe less memorable than a truly insane challenge. Now, what about those new boss rematch modes added in the free update?
Right, 2 new modes, Battle Memories and Death March. Good for replayability.
How do they work?
Battle Memories lets you refight any boss you've already beaten, from the base game or Overture. You can choose up to 5 difficulty levels for each boss, where they get boosted stats, more health, damage, etc.
Okay, scale and challenge.
And you get scored on how quickly you kill them. So it encourages speed running, optimizing your strategy for each fight.
Right, like a time trial. And Death March.
That's a boss rush mode. You pick 3 bosses and fight them back to back. A gauntlet challenge.
Sounds cool. Any downsides?
The main critique for both modes seems to be the lack of leaderboards.
Ah, no way to compare scores or times with others.
Exactly. Which many feel is a big missed opportunity. Makes them less compelling long-term, especially for the competitive crowd. Seems like a strange oversight for modes built around performance and speed.
Yeah, that does seem like a missed trick.
Okay.
Let's talk access. Because the shadow drop thing caused some issues there, right?
Yeah.
How do you actually start Overture?
Yeah, this is a big practical point. Specific entry requirements?
Yeah.
You access it from Chapter 9. Need to head to the path of the Pilgrim Stargazer.
Chapter 9. So pretty deep into the main game then.
Exactly. That's the crucial bit. It sounds simple, but it means you have to have played most of the main story already.
Yeah. Like, what bosses do you need to have beaten?
You need to be past the end of Chapter 9, and specifically, you need to have restored the Hotelcrat Stargazer, your main hub, which means you've already beaten major bosses like the eldest of the Black Rabbit Brotherhood.
Right, the multi-fight.
Romeo, King of Puppets.
Big one.
And the Walker of Illusions. So yeah, definitely not something you can jump into early. It's a significant barrier.
Okay, so combine that late game requirement with the Shadow Drop. I can see the problem.
Precisely. The Shadow Drop, releasing it suddenly. Exciting for some, sure, but it totally pulls the rug out from under players who don't have a save file already.
Right. People who finished it ages ago maybe deleted their save.
Exactly, or haven't touched it since it launched back in September 2023. Or maybe they started NG Plus ages ago and are now super rusty or way over-leveled or under-leveled for really hard DLC.
Yeah, it can be a real mood killer, as they say,
Cool.
forcing you to replay like 2/3 of the base game just to see the new stuff you paid for.
It's a big hurdle if you were hyped to jump right in, a design choice that definitely prioritized surprise over convenience for a lot of players.
And look, this isn't totally unique to Lies of P. Locking DLC behind progression is standard from soft practice, right?
True. Artorias, Old Hunters, Shadow of the Erd Tree, all need significant progress.
Yeah. But maybe for a linear Souls-like Lies of P, doing a Shadow Drop for super hard DLC is particularly tough if people are unprepared. Elden Ring gives you more flexibility to get ready because it's open world. Lies of P is more sequential.
Good point.
The saving grace, maybe, is that free respexing option we talked about. Being able to reset your stats and P organs easily. That helps mitigate it a bit, lets you adjust your build for the DLC without starting totally from scratch. It's something, at least.
Definitely helps. But there's another access issue compounding things. Game Pass.
Ah, right. Lies of P launched on Game Pass, but it's not on there anymore, is it?
Nope. Which means players who played it originally through their subscription maybe even beat it there.
They had to buy the whole game now plus the DLC.
Pretty much. If they want to play Overture. On Steam, for example, it's bundled for around $60. That's basically a full new game price.
Ouch. That's a barrier.
A significant financial one for some. Lots of players saying, look, I don't mind paying $30 for the expansion, but I'm not paying again for a base game I already played. Especially if their old cloud save isn't there anymore.
Yeah, I get that. Feels like double dipping.
Some see it as a deliberate strategy, maybe. Convert Game Pass players into purchasers. But it definitely risks alienating a chunk of the potential audience who just aren't willing to pay twice.
Understandable. So, okay, connecting all these threads,
Yeah.
What's the big picture on the critical reception? Favorable, you said.
Yeah, overall, generally favorable. Strong scores. Metascore of 84 on PC, 83 on PS5.
And individual reviews.
Very positive, mostly. The Gamer gave it a perfect 10 out of 10. GameSpot, IGN both gave it 80%. The Games Machine, Game Informer even higher at 90%. INVN Noisy Pixel at 85%.
Insistent praise, then?
Overwhelmingly. The main sentiment seems to be, it's more Lies of P, but better, which suggests it really delivered what fans of the original wanted, a refined, challenging expansion that builds on its strengths. But scores aren't everything. What about the user buzz? Beyond the Metacritic score, on places like Reddit. More nuanced there.
Definitely. A broader range of experiences when you dig into user comments. Lots of people echoing the high praise, calling it outstanding, some making those bold claims. Best non-From Souls-like ever, even better than some FromSoft games.
Wow, strong endorsements from players.
But you also see those pain points we discussed coming up again and again. The difficulty tuning, especially in NG Plus work, being a major frustration point. People really struggling with mobs hitting way too hard.
Yeah, the two-shot issue.
Performance problems, too, for some. Stuttering, FPS drops, hitching, frame pacing issues, even on good PCs, which is killer in a game demanding precision.
Absolutely ruins the flow.
And yeah, that restrictive access point gets mentioned a lot, just being a gate preventing people from playing. Some users also felt the DLC's higher aggression may be exposed or amplified existing flaws in the core combat. Like maybe the dodge isn't quite perfect or hit detection feels off sometimes, issues that become more obvious under intense pressure. Interesting point. High difficulty can definitely stress test a combat system. Which leads us nicely into that bigger discussion. Where does Lies of P, especially now with Overture, fit in the whole Souls-like scene?
It's a great question, because the game obviously wears its influences proudly, doesn't it? Bloodborne for the look, Sekiro for the parry focus, you can't ignore them.
Nope. Clear inspirations.
And it plays into that ongoing debate. Linearity versus open world in Soulslikes. Lies of P is firmly linear, more structured, story-driven.
Which has its pros and cons.
Exactly. Some players love that linearity. They feel it allows for an actual plot, not just scattered lore and big empty spaces.
Right.
Makes it more replayable maybe, tighter pacing.
Right. Clear progression.
But others criticize it for that, call it watered down FromSoft. Say the level design and exploration feel mediocre, very linear, maybe even dull after a while compared to the intricate worlds of, say, Dark Souls 1.
Yeah, it really depends on what you prioritize in the genre, which brings us back to your earlier point.
Ugh, yeah, the comparison. That's a good one. If your favorite Dark Souls is Dark Souls 3, fast combat, epic bosses, more streamlined progression, you'll probably love Lies of P.
Right. Focus on action.
But if Dark Souls 1 is your jam, the interconnected world, the exploration, the discovery, the subtle storytelling, you might find Lies of P's more constrained design less engaging.
It's a useful distinction.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned Overture. Maybe experiments more with exploration.
Yeah, encouragingly, it seems Overture does show Neo is maybe pushing those boundaries a bit. Reviewers mention a lot more branching paths and open areas compared to the base game.
So maybe responding to that feedback.
Could be. Potentially hinting towards what they've said they want for the sequel, a semi-open world, which is significant, shows they're listening, evolving their design.
That's really promising. And it's just impressive seeing these Korean developers like Neowiz really nailing the Souls-like formula so well, better than almost anyone outside FromSoft, arguably. They've found their groove.
Totally agree. And speaking of the future, a sequel is confirmed, right?
Yeah. Officially announced, the base game's ending pretty much set it up directly, gave that tantalizing hint of what's next.
But just to be clear, Overture isn't really about setting up that sequel's plot, is it? It's more backward-looking.
Exactly. Overture is primarily about filling in that backstory for Carlo and Romeo, fleshing out the world and characters before the main game. It enriches the lore foundation, but doesn't directly lead into whatever the sequel story will be.
Gotcha.
The director did make a public statement, though. Said something like, for the DLC and the sequel, we aim to do better on what we do well and improve in areas we have room to grow.
That sounds good. Self-aware.
Yeah, committed to refining things, learning from feedback. Bodes really well for the franchise's future, I think. Shows dedication to improving within the genre.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The core message from this deep dive seems to be, Lies of P Overture is, well, pretty damn compelling. Challenging, yes, but it largely delivers more Lies of P, which is what fans really wanted. Strengths seem to be that succinct but haunting story, the unique and evocative visuals, those creative new enemies, satisfying bosses, and the new weapons and Legion arms add good variety to the combat.
Right. It's the keynotes.
And while the inspirations are clear, Overture definitely feels like it's trying harder to forge its own identity, especially with those unique environments and the continued depth of its narrative.
Yeah, stepping out of the shadow a bit more. And it definitely sparks those bigger conversations, doesn't it? About Souls-like difficulty, accessibility versus core challenge, how developers handle DLC access. These are ongoing discussions in gaming.
Absolutely. Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. As you think about all this, the difficulty debates, the access frustrations, linearity versus open world, what really defines a perfect deep dive into a game like this for you?
Yeah, what's most important is that sheer hardcore challenge pushing your skills.
Or is it the intricate lore piecing together the tragic story?
Or maybe it's having the ability to tailor that journey, to choose your difficulty, to shape the experience to your own preferences.
Something to chew on. We definitely encourage you to explore those questions, maybe revisit Lies of P, or if you're prepared for the challenge and the access requirements, dive into Overture yourself.
See where you land on it all.
Exactly. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep gaming.